So what's up, everyone? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope the new year 2022 is treating you well so far. And welcome to Ballistics Session 2. If you missed the first session, basically the idea with Ballistics is I look at street photography in particular, and I try to break down what makes the photos interesting and good. And I do that for my own photos, and I plan on doing that for other street photographers, both classic photographers and more modern ones as well. And in this episode, I'm going to be looking at some of my photos from 2021. So let's dive into it. So for this first photo, I shot this on my Fujifilm in the fall of 2021, and if you know me, you know I love my moody photos. There's a lot of melancholy in a lot of my work. It's definitely a running theme for a lot of reasons. And this shot I got doing a photo walk in Old Town Toronto, a really cool area with a lot of classic architecture that's mostly been preserved. And I think what jumps out for me with this shot is the colors, and credit to Fujifilm partially for that, but a lot of the oranges and the browns and the yellows and things and the blues and the greens happening in this shot, I think really add to that sort of melancholy vibe that's in this photo. And I think this photo is really more about the vibe than anything else. The composition isn't too bad. You kind of have these two horizontal lines, the edge of the umbrella and the sort of yellow line on the road, and these lines as well, sort of all matching. And then you've got the main subject, who is very obvious here and very large in the frame. And I like that most of her face is kind of partially concealed by the transparent umbrella, and that's enhanced by the raindrops and sort of the light reflections that are happening here. So this whole umbrella is one big shape in the frame that I think adds an interesting aspect about it. And the rest is really just her body language. It's very subtle. Facial expressions, very subtle. Again, it all kind of suits the mood and the vibe that I'm going for in this photo. Again, a lot of melancholy and just, sort of a rainy, cold fall day. She got her cozy coffee in hand and everything. And it doesn't hurt that she's also a pretty girl. That usually doesn't hurt in street photography. And there's definitely a little story here. Again, it's kind of a cold, rainy day, and she's probably just went for a coffee run. Maybe I did a bit of shopping or got some pastries or bagels or whatever. And it's just a kind of what I would call like a vibey shot. Just some cool emotions, and yeah, it's a cool shot. And this next shot, I believe I actually shot this on the same day. So again, the whole, the theme of melancholy and the umbrella thing. This one's a little bit different in that the subject has her back turned. You can't see her face, so that I think adds a little bit of mystery. And as well, her body language is kind of strong and authoritative, I think. Authoritative. She seems very focused on her day and wherever she's headed for the day, and I think that adds to the shot as well. And again, I think the colors here work really well. A lot of blues and browns and beiges and yellows and things, little pops of highlights and things like that happening that I think add to the shot. And Again, it's just the vibe and the colors, lots of good leading lines happening as it's a straight on shot shooting down the street. It's all sort of leading towards the subject and pointing to, you know, the flow of where your eye will go when you look at this photo and where the subject is headed. Again, I think that adds to the narrative. I think the narrative in this shot is the subject is very focused on where she's headed, and she's not letting anything kind of get in her way. And then I just like the little touches, like the little drops of rain on the umbrella, adding some nice highlights and textures. And then her little earrings here, which, you know, subconsciously, if not consciously, I think add to the photo, and the little pops of highlights that are happening here and there as a result of, again, it being sort of a gray and rainy day. So yeah, here's proof that, you know, you can get out even on a rainy day where it's gray outside and cold and still get some decent shots, you know. And then other aspects like the reflection here, I think adds to this shot as well. And yeah, again, kind of a vibey shot, and I am a fan. So this photo here, another moody one. As you can see, I shot this on Carlton Street, I believe back in February or March of 2021. And I was just kind of hanging out there with my Fuji, and the sun was kind of peeking through some buildings on the south side of the street. And you can see the sort of line here of the sun, you know, where it's shadow here and it's light up here. And I noticed the subject, it was just her face that was illuminated by the sun, and everything else was kind of in shadow. And so I started, you know, taking a couple shots, and her facial expression as well. You know, she was definitely in a mood, and she probably wasn't too happy that I was shooting her. Even though I was across the street, she still noticed me and kind of figured out what I was doing. Maybe, maybe not, although it looks like she was definitely inside of her own head. But, you know, her facial expression and the light and the shadow and everything, I thought just kind of matched the vibe of the photo. And, you know, that soft winter light just hitting her face beautifully. And, you know, the composition, I think, works. And you have this numerical information here, which I think is interesting just because it contrasts with everything else, which is not letters or numbers. It's all just shapes and people's faces and that sort of thing. So it almost gives it sort of an abstract feel. You know, if you didn't know this was a streetcar, you'd probably not know exactly what's going on here, which I think adds to the shot. So again, it's just sort of another moody and kind of vibey shot, and I like what's happening here with the light and shadow in particular, and the subject's facial expression. And here is our final shot for the day. So this shot I shot with the Ricoh GR3. This was in the fall 2021, I think November or so. And this shot I included it just because it's kind of an interesting shot. It's kind of a quirky-ish, you know, different kind of shot in the sense that the composition isn't perfect. But the reason why I think it's a good shot and why I included it in this session of Ballistics is because I think sometimes some shots on paper don't really make much sense, you know. And like in this case, the composition is kind of off because there's a lot of aspects on the right side of the frame here that pulls it off balance a little bit compared to the left, which is kind of in shadow. And arguably you can say that the, you know, design of the shot or the composition of the shot isn't the greatest. But the reason why I think this shot kind of works and it's kind of interesting as a street photo is because of the light and the shadow and what's happening mostly at the center of the frame. If if you look up here, there's these pigeons, and they just, it's one thing that actually really caught my eye. While I was shooting this, they were high up there, and the light was hitting them. Some of them were in highlights, others were in shadow with silhouettes. So that's kind of a dynamic aspect of the shot that I really liked. And then you have, I would say, your main subjects down here. And just interesting characters. You kind of have this guy with this long jacket. Body language is interesting. He kind of looks like he's just kind of, going through his day, not very happy, trying to get through his day. And similar thing with this guy here as well. And then this guy just looks kind of confused and maybe in a similar mind frame. So I think it just kind of adds to the quirkiness of this shot. The pigeons and the light and the shadow and these subjects down here with kind of similar facial expressions and body language and a similar kind of mood. And I think this is just one of those shots where it's just hard to pin down what it is about it that I find so appealing. But this is a shot that I posted on my Instagram, and a fair amount of people left comments and said they really liked it. Even though, again, on paper, this is just the composition's a bit off, and the subjects are definitely getting cut off here at the bottom, etc. But I think, again, because of the light and the overall mood of the shot, and I think there is a story there, and these subjects are consistent with that narrative and the emotions in the shot, and in particular the pigeons as well. I think the shot works, and as unconventional as it is, it's one of my favorites of 2021. It's definitely a shot that is not everyone's cup of tea, but I think that's kind of consistent with my style in photography in general. And I think that's fine. It's great to experiment. Sometimes you just luck out with certain shots. Sometimes shots work and you're not really sure why. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. I think that's what creativity and art and photography is really all about, is pushing those boundaries and not staying inside of what you think academically or on paper it makes for a good shot. So that's it for Ballistics Session 2, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I hope that it helps you to break down your own photos and maybe the photos of other photographers, and maybe you got some tips along the way, and hopefully it helps you to figure out what works and what doesn't in a lot of your work. And I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and maybe leave a comment down below if you like this video. Definitely encourages me to create more content for you guys, and as well it helps the channel to grow. And once again, I wish you all the best for this new year, 2022. And I'm very optimistic that it's going to be a great year. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Easy.